Joe Hobika on the line right now. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Wonderful. We've had a stressful morning in here. I think you had a stressful morning yesterday, as did everybody that was running for any board. Okay, you're a vote behind Brianna Moriarty.
Yes.
I said this was a classic case. Everybody that I talked to is like, oh, Hobika's going to walk away with that one. Oh, Hobika's going to...
I had a different sense,
okay.
I guess. Not because I wasn't getting positive feedback. I just know Utica. So I just had an election, so I just had a different sense about it.
Yeah.
And, that idea that somebody's damning you because they think that you have an absolute win. And
well, we are in a world of anti-establishment right now.
Well,
it seems
I'm not really establishment.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing I want to say is, number one, it was not a stressful day. As a matter of fact, it
you
wasn't
seemed
even
quite calm last night. I thought
I was more than calm. It really
Yeah.
didn't matter what the outcome was. It's nice to win. I would have liked to have won, but on the flip side, I was perfectly comfortable with everything that I did in the campaign. I did everything that you're supposed to do, from soup to nuts. I did it, and so my kids were, saying to me, Dad, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And I said, no. And the reason why I wasn't nervous, and the reason why I wasn't anxious, and the reason why I wasn't disappointed was I followed the process and the procedure. And I did everything that you're supposed to do when you run for office.
You are behind her, Brianna, by one vote. Are you conceding to that, or will there?
Well,
you're going to
the
ask for
first thing I
want to
do is I want to congratulate. I want to congratulate Anthony Lapola.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know him. I mean, obviously, the first day we got off to a rocky start when he made his announcement, but the reality is that he and I became friends during the campaign. I think he has a very bright future if he chooses to proceed in politics.
Is he related to? I think I might have asked him. Is he related to
No,
Lou
I
Lapola?
think he comes from a different sect of the Lapola family.
Right.
And then Don Dawes been on there for a long time, and he's just a nice fella. I thought that James Paul brought up some interesting points that should be pondered during the campaign. And Hanka, she's a lovely lady, and I think she did very well for her first time. Now, obviously there were some issues in terms of, maybe some of the legalities of it, but the fact of the matter is she's a very nice person and pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I'm not conceding. I think that, I owe it, I guess, to people who believe in process and procedure. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is to me. Honestly, I will tell you that. Whether I end up in the office or I don't end up in the office, it doesn't matter. I have never seen a poor-run election in the entire time that I've been involved in politics, and I was stuffing envelopes for my dad in 1972, okay? So, I think the people of West Utica were disenfranchised. I was receiving reports that people were going to 2 and 3 polling sites, not really knowing where they were supposed to vote. Some of them gave up, which I thought was horrible, because the one thing that you can say about West Utica and the citizens of West Utica, and it doesn't matter whether they were going to vote for me or they weren't going to vote for me, because I have no idea whether they were going to vote for me or not vote for me, but they take their citizenship very seriously. And, I heard story after story about, them reporting to different places, going to a firehouse, going here, going there, then finding out that, they were in the wrong place multiple times. I was actually at Proctor getting ready to vote when two young men came in thinking that they were voting there, and then they found out that one was voting at the Parkway Rec Center and one was voting at the JCC. I actually have, some information about somebody who spent 2 hours trying to cast a vote because the list
was only half there.
Was incomplete.
Yeah, I talked to that person. That's another one,
Bill, than that one. Okay?
This person I spoke to said that she tried to vote. They told her she wasn't eligible to vote because she was not on the list, and she said, "I've been voting for 40 years.
It was
never missed an election."
Unfortunately, it was a host of failures and I guess a comedy of errors is the only way I can put it. And it started out with picking up your petitions and being told that you needed registered voters, and then all of a sudden it's determined that you don't need registered voters anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then of course there was no way to verify any of the signatures because there's no process and procedure in place. So, I'm just it doesn't matter, like I said, whether I win or lose, but the process and the procedure will come to light because I will make sure it does. And corrections will be imposed so that people are not being disenfranchised.
Yeah, it's hard enough to get people out to vote to begin with.
Yeah,
and when you make it difficult,
the other thing is that running elections. The board runs its own election, but the reality is that the people that oversee the election are the actual board and the board clerk, and they're not in the business of that's not an independent body like the Board of Elections, that is really just responsible for process and procedure. So, something has to be done about it. Then you have the situation with the absentee ballots, because there's a statutory period that those things are supposed to be out. And in the school board rules, based on that period that it's supposed to be, they're supposed to be sent out in, they're supposed to be back on election day, okay? And now what happened was, because of the litigation that occurred, absentee ballots went out at a different point in time. Some people submitted absentee ballots, like the original ones, and then received the other ones, and there wasn't enough, communication. And like I said, whether I win or lose really doesn't matter to me, because if it were anybody else, I would be offended at the lack of process. So I'm just going to make sure that whatever happens, nobody has to live through this again. Last night everybody, was obviously disappointed, except for me. I was only disappointed in the process and the procedure, not in the result. As I said, I would have liked to have won, but for whatever reason, I'm down by one at this point. So who knows what'll end up happening? There's going to be, and that's the other thing. Like, they wanted to do a recount, and they don't want any representatives of any of the people that are involved in the election.
And normally with a recount, there are representatives of each campaign that are present for that.
They delivered the absentee ballots to the poll locations, what I've been advised, and then opened them there. There may have been somebody who actually voted absentee and then voted by machine. It's just so many.
Right,
it's just a comedy of errors, and the reality is it can't happen again to anybody else. It's okay that it happened to me, but because, look, I did it for my own reasons. I wanted to help, the kids by being on the board. I actually wanted to help the citizens by imposing some process and procedure at the board level. But, that may not come to pass. But at a minimum, I will do what I can to make sure that everybody knows where the errors were and what needs to be addressed so that the citizens of Utica and anybody interested in running can know that there's going to be a fair and appropriate election. And that is not really how this one played out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, again, I want to congratulate Anthony and Don and the others on their efforts. And as I said, we're going to clean this up, and we're going to make sure that everything's out in the open because that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And, we'll see what happens. But as I said, I'm really not invested in the outcome. So whether I win or lose really doesn't matter to me.
Joe, I do have to say that the next time somebody says, my vote doesn't matter, when you lose by one vote, if that's what the final outcome is, there's got to be somebody in your life that's like, I'm so sorry I didn't get there.
I said to my kids, you see when I tell you to go to the polls and you say my vote doesn't matter? Well, you saw that someone's vote matters.
Certainly does matter. So.
But in celebration of the great effort and the support that I had, I thought, Bill, you know what? Why not celebrate with a $500 question today?
So instead, now normally we do this on Thursdays. You want to do it right now? Do you want to do it? An additional?
We do it right now.
All right. Okay. All right, Joe, I will do that. We'll do it now. I appreciate it. Keep us up to date here.
I'll let you know what's going on.
Right.
We'll get it cleaned up. I think it's time to clean up. We got to clean things up around here.
All right, Joseph, thank you. I appreciate it.